Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Peter Igaga, and this is your favorite show, Men, that comes to light up your Wednesday night. There's no show like it. Ask me. Of course, I would say that. Anyway, once again, we are here in Kalangala, and we are going to talk about something that hits the chord of this island, and it's sharing wives. Now, it's a well-known fact that it's a common practice amongst most of the fishing communities where when a man is not there, the man who's there carries the day, literally. So we don't want to have any women on this set. We're only going to have a discussion as men. Now, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Now, I have often said it, even on this show. A man can share anything. You know, as men, especially with our fellow men, we're creatures that love to share. We can share food, we can share clothes, including underwear, we can share drinks, we can share land.
We can share money.
We can share money,
cars.
yes.
And cows.
But the only thing that we are not comfortable with sharing
is women.
is women. Yes.
Yeah.
So, Mike, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this particular island, Stefan, why?
It all comes down to how we were raised. You know, society allows you to fool around and, you know, pats you on the back when you sleep with 300 women, asks you how you did it, and on the other hand, when you flip the page, condemns a woman and, you know, labels her all the immoral names, you're a prostitute and whatnot. But you know, we all know, whether you like it or not, whether you want to believe that your woman is the holiest woman, you have shared her once or somewhere with some other random ninja somewhere. And even when we are sitting here, you don't know, you might be sharing her with someone.
Before we started the show, I said that's how the show degenerates into chaos, punches and
I
kicks
know,
start
eh?
flying your way.
Yeah,
That's how we find out
you know,
you
we
shared one of
don't want to know, women, you know, as men will fool around. You will sleep with 100 women. That one point, someone tells you that, or even suspect that your woman is sleeping with someone, you go nuts. But the truth is that, you know, before you met your woman, she was sleeping with someone.
Maybe she wasn't.
She must have.
Okay, Banji, in this day and age, and even before, I know of stories of some very old people who were not accustomed to sharing.
Yeah.
And even no matter how many wives they had, they were more than ready to cut them off because the assumption was they were sharing. Why can't we share as men?
I think, again, I don't want to be stoned for digging so much into our social setup. We to get accustomed to something, you have to be raised seeing it occurring, so you get used to it. But apart from these isolated cases of islands or inheritance, I have really not, in many cultures in Uganda, sharing women was a taboo. It's just a matter of not being used to sharing, that's one. And also it is, I will call it selfishness on the side of the man.
Really?
Yeah.
How does it become selfish?
Because you see, men are, their egos are so big that the man can boast of saying, I have slept with 30 women, 10 women. But if his wife said, I slept with 50 men, oh my God.
That would be the end.
It will be war. Yeah. Now, you slept with 30 women. Whose women were you sleeping with? So, who was your neighbor sleeping with? This is the question. If we ask, then it sets the position clear. But we have, again, out of Uganda, we have in neighboring countries, I think I've mentioned it on this show, I think in Ethiopia and Somalia, where the woman can marry so many men. And I think there was even a story in Kenya where two guys ended up with one woman. And she was asked in court to choose. She said she loves all of them. And so they said, please, go ahead and stay with all of them.
Yes.
So it becomes a question of, are you used to it? Is it within your culture? Is it something you're comfortable with? And therefore the social controls, the social controls we have always talked about here in terms of religion, cultural fabric, prevents men from wanting to share women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what. It's the whole sharing of women, especially like in the island case, is something that's not exactly voluntary. And Albert, for you and Faisal, you guys, you're coming up with what do you call it? In a new generation. I understand, and I stand to be corrected, that the thinking behind it was literally you were your brother's keeper. Because, I mean, this is your brother, you can share stuff, So ideally it was about that. So when you have gone out fishing, what this guy is doing is he's just making sure your wife is safe and sound and your home is well taken care of. So, what has changed?
What do you
Especially
mean
for
what
you
has
guys.
changed?
Oh, you guys, you do that?
At first I was asking why there are so very few men on this island.
Men or women?
But now that they told me you have to share your wife, I was like, boss, I would also not subscribe to such a school of thought.
You just move.
Yes, because how? Why am I sharing?
I don't think it is actually planned.
Oh, either way, then if it's not planned, you should just say, infidelity is on the rise on an island like Karangal. And it is understandable because you know how cold it gets out here at night.
And you have to fish at
And
night.
you're there, you're fishing, your woman is home doing nothing.
I think the reason why that is common in this island is because there are fewer women. But I'll tell you one thing.
But actually, Jalo,
yeah?
that's part of it. There is some work which you can look up on Google Scholar. You just type in Kwiringira Japheth, and you will get his study which he conducted among fishermen and fishing communities in Lake Albert. And it is looking at the interface between gender, culture, and HIV/AIDS. And this man presents interesting findings. In fact, in that particular area, the argument is that marriage and life is looked at as a temporary event or caress, because once the man sets to go and do the fishing,
He may never come back.
So when he has left, you are single until he returns. and in that particular study, actually, when the man returns and finds the woman busy, he will wait until she's available for him to continue.
I just want to ask whether do these women also want salary for being at home? Because
they're taking care of the home while you're away.
No.
My question is, do they know that they're being shared, or is something subconscious?
They know.
The women know.
When you come back.
According to that study, the women know and the men know.
Peter,
That they are sharing
Peter,
women.
let me
Yes.
I am such a person who is pro-culture, pro-tradition. And I believe that we should, to change such a mindset in a society like one he has mentioned, of fishermen, is quite difficult. And I would not want to even try to defend them or give any excuse or even blame them. Why? See, tradition is quite tricky. Just as some people look at bride price to be something negative, it's the same way we're looking at sharing women. But probably they are looking at a point, they're looking of continuity.
Where they all benefit.
They also
Because if
they all
today you're
benefit.
on my wife, tomorrow I'll be on your wife.
Life goes on.
It could
Goes on.
be. So the dangers and any disadvantage that comes thereafter, they will deal with it as a community, as tradition deals with it.
Yeah.
So it's such a thin line trying to point fingers on people on a tradition that has lived through time. And now the problem comes with the new generation, not of farmers, but of individuals, of gentlemen that are actually carrying out the sharing of wives, and the ladies are actually encouraging it. Why? Because maybe they're not getting full sum, and maybe you can give a full fish.
I know that sharing of wives has disadvantages, high disadvantages. 90% disadvantage with AIDS and whatnot.
Yeah.
But is there a way like you can share women safely?
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I highly doubt that.
You can't.
Because, and I'll tell you why. You have got no control over what the other person does, but only control over what you do.
Yes.
So you might be practicing safe sex, okay?
And
but
the other person is
the other
not.
guy is not.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you can never
But
tell.
if all of you know that you're sleeping
If
with
the
them,
whole
yeah,
community
you
knows
can
that
agree.
if
Wait, Jama.
no, you're four usually. You're four.
There's
Me,
just
my wife, you, and your wife. You're fishing tonight. I'm with your wife.
Because he's
I'm
also
fishing tomorrow. Then you're fishing my wife.
No, I'll tell you what. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. I mean, and that's why
Yeah.
we can see
Yeah.
the rate of HIV/AIDS is skyrocketing. In
Yeah.
While a good a number of sections in this country have really taken very many steps, it is still a problem on this island. And what happens is a lot of people get concerned. A lot of people's wives get concerned when their husbands tell them they're going to the island, because they're like, hey, what is he going to come back with? Because you see, unfortunately, the women are used to sharing, and now it is no longer just a community thing.
it's an island thing.
Yes, an island thing. Yeah, and so a lot of people come to visit the island for recreational sex, and it is
Kalangala,
just
this island.
Yes, this island.
But we haven't had any.
But you guys,
I mean, we came to.
Faizo.
That's why I'm trying to.
you
This
guys.
island.
Faizo, if you look at the population census of 2014, I think, there's one particular island which had 40 people, and there were only 2 females. 40 people, and there are 2 females. And these females were all adults. So tell me, what was happening? I think the geography dictates that these communities must evolve and share the only resource. And ladies, forgive me for you saying the only
Referring to
resource.
them as resource.
Yes,
we are also resource.
yes,
Men
but
are
this
resource.
is the only female company that is around. So being monopolistic is actually anti-community.
Yes.
Why are you monopolizing
Anti-developmental.
anti-development? She's the only one who is available.
Now, we are
But-
here
no.
at the lake shores of Kalangala Island talking about the sharing of wives in the fishing communities. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break, giving you just enough time to go check on your fish. Welcome back to the show. In case you've just joined us, you are lucky to just get us right on the shores of Kalangala. Now, we have been talking about men who share wives, especially the island community. And what is the reason for that? And I'll tell you guys what the reason is. It's one of the major reasons is what you can see happening right over there. You see that ferry? Now, this ferry comes to the island and carries away most of the women. Now, why don't the men leave? As it is, in a lot of communities, land belongs to the men. So it's very hard for the men to leave the island and go. But the women, in search of better opportunities, get on the ferry and they go. They go
And
to
also,
Kampala,
and,
they go
also,
beyond.
and also the fact that most of the the people that fish are men. It's a man's
Yes.
job.
Yes,
Let me just comment on something, Peter. Back then, when communities were forging, when they were coming up, when there wasn't that whole you have to marry from another tribe, you have to marry from somewhere, things like AIDS didn't exist. Yeah, but we are dealing in a period of time where, give an example, this island, there are 2 women, only 2 women.
No,
If
not
any,
society.
no, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if any of them ever got infected,
You're gonna
and
get
you're
it.
dealing with the whole, we have to multiply, there are little women, the men are many. Every new family that is going to originate from those 2 women is going to be sick. So you cannot tell me spreading HIV is developmental.
You're not understanding that when you're in such a situation, especially now, you see, culture is a very deep and fundamental aspect in people's lives.
Yes,
They
yes, yes,
depend on it. Now, if you find an instance of an island or a piece of area with only 2 women, what do you think what do you think the entire community as a whole, or even the leaders, are thinking when you do when those women do not avail themselves as a resource?
You know, let me give you a solution. You know, we as men, as a society, we are used to you know, demonize or castigate. One solution, I'll actually give 2 solutions. We have noticed that the demand is high and the supply is low. So what do? You increase on the supply. How do you increase on the supply? Create job opportunities
for the women,
on
this area.
the land.
So that is
so
not
that they
all
can
about
be shipped
fishing.
here. Another way to solve this is put the control of sex in the women's hands. How do you do that? Sensitize them, and you know, provide places, safe places where they can get condoms, you know, contraceptives, things like
See,
that.
that doesn't still stop the fact that when a man goes to fish, the woman is entitled to
Now listen,
to be kept by the brother.
No, it's not.
No, listen,
it's
it's-
not.
it's
There's
so-
no sense of. There's no law that by the way
that
the
is
moment
not a
you go
law, it's
fishing.
not a law, it's
eh?
tradition.
And there are so many traditions we've
and
broken.
that's a way of
Female
solving
genital
it.
mutilation. Until we told people it was bad, they didn't know
Is
it
it
was bad.
stopping? Isn't it?
Yes,
still there?
the
It is
rates are
still
going
there.
down
No,
at
the
the
rates are
current point
going
in
down.
time. But before that, people didn't know it was bad because to them it was culture.
I think some communities did not know. We can't generalize that everybody did because
Okay,
there's a
some of
reason
the
why,
communities
yes,
didn't know.
everybody did
They
not
didn't know. They just used to take it as culture.
I have one of the things that we need to be cognizant of is that poverty is also one of the key drivers. These women, even if they are few, have a challenge. They don't have money. They don't have a source of income. So it is the fishermen who have the cash, because they go out, they fish, they come, they sell the fish, they make the money. So at the end of the day, if this lady wants any food in her house and this guy has the money, you can't tell her
So
just
you've literally solved the entire problem. You've just said the women are poor. They're not jobs.
The women need
This
to be
is why
involved.
we
This is-
need to
yeah.
involve women in the
In fact,
active
Faizo,
decisions
Faizo,
of Kalangala as a
Faizo.
community. It's not all about men. Oh, all the men on the land. Oh, all the men on the bars.
But that's
the
a fact.
restaurants, the whole
Faizo,
thing.
It is a
Faizo,
fact.
you are going to
but we
realize,
have to shift the trend.
Faizo,
Yes.
you are going to realize that this problem actually is much bigger than the issue of just money.
Yes, it's
It is much bigger than the issue of just poverty. That if we eradicated poverty, it would also disappear. Because really, you must know that you were arguing that culture is not law. But I will tell you that culture is one of the most powerful laws there can be. And the method of enforcing cultural laws are sometimes very crude. And that if you disobey culture, the consequences might even be far-reaching than if you disobeyed a written law of the republic. So you need to understand that. That's one thing. Secondly, you also need to understand that the fact that there are few women on some of these islands is in itself an economic opportunity. And if you move around and ask, you may find that a number of women who are here are not actually born here.
Yeah.
They have come from far and wide, including other countries, by the way. Our neighboring countries, Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, coming here because they know, one, that when the men here engage in fishing and earn money, they will want to spend their money. I think Jalu has always said that a man has 2 forms of happiness: earning money and having sex, enjoying women.
I will accept that.
willingly.
I will accept that willingly.
So it is not an easy problem as we think. Of course, the question is, can something be done about it? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Is it right? No. We are not saying it is right, but necessity obeys no law.
Yes. Now, I'll tell you what. It is fortunate and also unfortunate that there are a lot of opportunities, especially for income generation on this island. But so far, the only core activity has been fishing. You know, yeah, there's so much more. So I think it really will necessitate a complete mind shift where people will not only just engage in fishing but also engage in other activities. Can we have fish ponds, for example? We don't have to go into the lake, yes, to get the fish. So I can be a fisherman with my fish pond.
Okay,
Which are
fish,
in my
fish.
house,
Okay, you
yes.
say fish. No, wait. Fish. Wait. Sorry, you're not fish, but yeah. You talk about fish ponds. Be realistic, Peter. Let's try to be real. Those are things that are done. For example, if you're doing them in Bushenyi, for example, where I come from, that's realistic, having fish ponds. You have this entire lake and you're placing fish ponds in the middle of the air. So you see, that
So
is
that I don't have to go out
listen,
in the dead of the night.
true. But that is unrealistic to people, especially in Kalangala, whereby the average per capita income here is what? And you're trying to tell them dig a fish pond and spend energy and money, yet God gave you a natural resource. You see, you're dealing with a problem like Marie Antoinette. If you do not have bread, please buy cakes. That is how you're dealing with the issue.
No, you
Come,
see,
Peter.
the thing
Because
is,
you because Peter, wait, because Peter, your mind and your perception of life, because you are privileged, you think of a sort, you're privileged of a sort. So you see, you are biased. Wait. You should not deal with such a problem like that. Fishing is a very big income generating activity. Not even for this, not even for this island, but for even Uganda itself. We depend on fish from
And
this
most of the
place.
fish you
Look,
eat
why
is not from the lake.
The problem is
From fish
we do
ponds.
not. Most of the time, we do not involve our women in this generating activity. We leave them on the island.
so we should take them fishing.
Not only involve them. Listen, there's so much activity that can happen if you bring the fish to the island and the processing and everything is done by the ladies. Why not? Just as Piper said, involve the women in the decision making. Maybe if you involve them in decision, there will be a dialogue that goes on.
There's something
It will
on-
enable people.
and Peter.
It will enable people to come together and understand that, hey, look here, we can all benefit
Moderator.
from each other.
Okay.
No,
50,
I wanted to
50,
bring in the issue of culture.
No,
Maybe before
I
Jaluo
wanted
comes
to
in.
battle something what he said. He's already talking. I need to say, he said that, said something very interesting. He said that dealing with poverty is not one of the major reasons to deal with scourges like this one. But I'll tell you for a fact, poverty is one of the reasons why things like HIV has spread so easy.
Sure, very true.
Dealing with it, if the government is involved, the government does things the same way, time immemorial. They will preach abstinence, do this, don't do that. The best way they can do is create jobs here.
Yeah, because Peter, we have an instance
Big
whereby
job.
the men of this island look at these women as sexual objects. She's not even your wife. Imagine you marry her, but another man is like, no, my
because
friend,
you have left.
no, my friend. When you go, I am going to come and do what, and satisfy her. So that's the thing. Solve that. Stop looking at women as instruments for sex, instruments for servicing.
You see,
whenever
Igaga,
you feel like, let me just finish.
explaining
Instruments
cultures.
of sex and what, involve them in other things. These women can do more. They can do more. And when we were coming to this island, you had someone said there is a very high rate. There are very high rates of gonorrhea and STDs. Literally everywhere we went, there are free condom dispensers. Free condoms. Why? Because the women here are just being used for sex. That's just it. And it's not right. However much you try to say necessity is not law and not, it is not right.
Nobody think it's right.
I know it's
but
not right.
It is what it is.
Yes.
But how
Now,
do you
I
stop
wanted to explain the concept of culture. Culture is a very dynamic and tricky concept, because if you recall back in history of Uganda before the HIV/AIDS epidemic, the issue of sharing women in island places was not such a big deal. Okay, because gonorrhea was manageable, syphilis was manageable. So when does it become a prominent issue? Because HIV has come in,
And it has no
and
cure.
one of the leading causes is sharing women. Okay, so because of that, we the outsiders, and you see when you look at culture, you look at it from the inside and the outside. We the outsiders think that what they are doing is bad. They themselves are not necessarily complaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because of that, there is a mismatch, and this is where programming also becomes difficult. You bring programs from an outsider's view, the person you are bringing them to rejects them.
Yeah.
A similar scenario. You realized before that in Karamoja people did not have permanent toilets, pit latrines. Government rushed there and built pit latrines, and people did not use them because the culture was different. So when you bring programming from outside, from an outside point of view, it also becomes different. The condoms, the condom dispensers, we moved around and we've seen that most of them are full with condoms.
Yes.
You want to tell me that sex has not happened on this island? Oh, my friend, it is happening. Why are those condoms
It is not
still there?
happening. All of us haven't had any. And we've
Because
been here for how long?
the issue of condom use is again
right.
foreign to these people. So there, when you are bringing such services, I know the service providers, the government, the NGOs struggle as much as possible to work with the local leadership, with the people who have influence here, to make sure that some of these things are what are adopted. But as I emphasize on culture is not something which will die like the way you switch on and off.
Yeah.
Because there are conditions that plant this culture,
And
until
sustain
those
it.
conditions are removed,
Banji,
the culture
Banji,
remains.
no one wants to remove the culture of Kalangala, no. We just say times have changed.
Eh?
Like what you say.
want to
We
remove
now
the
have HIV. We now have
but
things.
Peter,
We now have
why-
things
why-
that
why
that
don't
that
we-
are
why don't
going
we
to
talk
force
about
us
sharing
to
of
change
women
our normal way
island?
of living.
That is so common.
I'll tell you one thing. We do need to get into a break, but when we come back, the fact is, men are sharing women.
Yes.
The fact is, it is a cultural norm. And also, I agree with Banji. The fact is, you're not going to waltz in and tell guys stop, and they say, "All right, you know what? We're not going to do it." It is their culture. It's what they do, and it's what they've done. They know they're dying of HIV/AIDS, but it's not stopping them. We're here at Pearl Resort talking about the sharing of wives in Kalangala. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. We are here at Pearl Resort in Kalangala, and we are talking about the issue of men on this island and other islands like this sharing wives. Now, gentlemen, it is a challenge, okay? There is a cultural aspect. I think there's more to it than just simply giving people money and
And that's what I was saying, if something is not working, if you've been trying to pass this way but you're always failing, you change. How do you change? And Faisal's been alluding to this, and I don't think he's effectively communicating to Banji. But women, research stipulates women are more receptive to change than men. So how do you do it? Sensitize the women more. Put sex, like the control of sex, in their hands. Provide, put companies that are attractive to women on this island. Make the supply of women on this island become more.
And by the way, another reason why women go where their children are going most of the time, or when they are going, they will take their children. And the whole time we
been
were
planting
touring
my
around
grass.
this island, how many schools did you see?
there's a handful. There are very few.
There's a school up there. By
And
the way.
if you have your children, here, the schools are literally next to a handful. What are you going to do? You need your child to study. They need an education. You're going to leave the island. And the man is going to be like, you know what? I have to get money for school fees. They stay behind. So it's not that women leave because they don't want to, or whatever. It's because there's a reason. There are no schools. There are so many STDs. There's gonorrhea everywhere. There's HIV. Why would you not leave if you're a woman and you have no job here and there are no schools to take your children to?
I feel personally, there's very limited research right now to try to justify certain facts right now, like saying if the women, how you see, culture is a communal thing. You need to know statistically how many women are actually against this, how many women do not encourage this, how many women encourage this, because this is something that has happened culturally, and many of these cultures are strongly driven by women, because the women pass on this culture to their children, and these children are the future men, the future fishermen. So you can't tell me these fishermen grew up and said, oh, hold on, wait a minute, we can share wives. I don't think it was some genie in the bottle that came out and started spreading this up. So I think there's limited information, especially statistically, to quantify exactly what kind of, because this is a behavioral aspect.
There is one thing we need to understand as we sit here is all we need to remember is that there on these islands there are men and women who do not share.
Yeah.
They are there, and they have lived here for years, and they don't want to share. Probably they have different values, different motivations for not sharing. On the other hand, there are those who say, well, why not share?
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
What it is.
And you see, previously, you also need to understand the aspect of life. The life of a fisherman, when he goes to the lake,
It is his last day.
actually he has said his goodbyes.
He says his buys, and what do you expect?
You are even not sure whether he will come back. So, and these are some of the issues that drove these kinds of cultures. So, you, the woman, you stay here mourning that the man has gone, you wait. And that's what Dr. Japheth explains in his study, the temporariness of life. Everything becomes temporary.
So why don't you make the probability way better for that he can go? He knows that when he goes,
He can come
he
back.
can come back. He says, put fish ponds here. That was a beautiful idea.
It was actually a very beautiful idea.
Of course,
No. It doesn't have to
It's
be
not
the
wrong.
fishermen setting them up.
Let's hear what
yesterday-
You just have to make it safer for the
Yesterday we were
fishermen
coming.
to do their job.
Yesterday we were coming, you saw a number of economic activities here. Now there's business booming up there, commodity trading. There is palm oil production. People are working in some of these enterprises. And I think there is a diversity of activities. But you see now, this is the bigger island. There are several other tens of small islands.
Yeah.
Okay, some of them have boats which I don't know. So because of this, you see, you need to understand the culture in terms of the geography, which is here. The geography, because the geography is very complicated. You know, when the geography becomes very complicated, then the culture also becomes very complicated. Because I'll give you an example. We know that in the US, polygamy is an offense. When you marry two wives, you will be arrested and imprisoned. But we know that there are communities that still practice polygamy. And in fact, one of the cases which I looked at, a guy was married to 4 sisters. 4 sisters. He was married to them. And they are normal looking women. They go to the public and they keep quiet. In this modern age of
Are you
what?
saying this should
So,
introduce-
no, I'm
introduce
You should
polygamy?
embark
no.
because
I am
it's part
simply
of them.
explaining and saying life and the way people live it is very different. Sometimes it is difficult for you to understand.
You need to accept.
Yeah,
that
and
that
you
is-
need to accept. Yes.
It's not always logical.
Yes.
But it's
that
not
is-
always, guys, it's
that
not
is
always
all-
logical, but let me tell you, so you have to outweigh the risk and the benefit.
That is to
Because
you,
yes,
Faizo.
it's culture, share that women are not bad man, you might die.
Now,
You
Faizo,
pay
but-
for the air,
yes,
taxpayers' money.
And
For
Faizo-
every
and
person
Faizo-
that gets HIV on this island, you are going to contribute to treating
True,
them. The more they are, the
true.
more
And
it's
those are
going
the-
to incur,
those are the
the more it's
facts.
going to be your
Those
expense.
are the facts,
So
and we
there's
don't
no way I'm
disagree.
going to
And
encourage
you see,
people
by the
to
way,
procreate if I
Albert,
know
just
the
a minute.
risk
Faizo,
is
there is
greater
something maybe
than
I
the
need
benefit.
to tell you. There is what we call, there is one of the studies I read, there is what we call the being invisible, you know, being all powerful. A person tells you, if I can conquer the lake at night, you know the virus has no physical, to a layman, when you say virus, someone says, what's a virus? Like a small
It's no
something
attachment
which
to
affects
it,
your body.
actually.
The man says, I am conquering the whole Lake Victoria. What are you saying?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking
and
about?
that is his mindset.
Yeah, this is his mindset. So it's
And
more,
even if you told the women, it would take almost a generational switch. A whole you have to teach a new generation of ladies
Which
to
we are
educate-
willing to take
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
Which we are willing to
but
take
you see,
on.
the thing is, those such programs have been brought up as well. There are
You
so
know-
many. There are
you know
programs
why
like
I-
that
on
that have
this,
been
on
brought
this
up.
particular island,
Not
I
on
don't
this
know,
particular-
because
but there are
everywhere I
programs-
went, we did not see any billboards
why
telling
I
people,
miss
you know what,
Chris?
HIV
You
is
know-
this,
there
I
are
didn't see
some.
any. I
There
didn't
are
see
some.
any, and I've been
Chris, on
taking
this,
pictures the entire time.
particularly on this topic, because you know we've talked about ways we can curb this, but we're not talking about morality. Do you think introducing a system of morality in islands and can curb this?
No, I'll tell you what. At the end of the day, morality carries the day, and sometimes I think we just need to be strict. Okay, about
And morality
but
is relative.
Igaga,
Morality is
morality
relative.
also has limits.
It's also
Just
relative.
let me give you an example. I'm sure Chris would have quoted for us the story of this in the Bible. This man after the floods, Noah and the daughters.
And the daughters.
We know Noah was a God's man, and when the daughters remained with their dad, they were like, "What do we do?"
What do we do next?
They had to improvise because the clan was finished. They had to improvise and expand the clan.
But
you're
you see,
saying-
during then
So-
there was no
And
HIV,
secondly,
there
you're
saying
were
that
no
morality
STDs,
does not
and this is
play-
what I told
To
you.
add on
I
to-
told you
listen,
it made more sense back then. It
add-
made more sense
listen,
back then
Peter,
because there was the benefit outweighed the risk. But
Yes.
at the moment,
Peter.
the risk outweighs the benefit.
True. But what you should know, Peter, that here you're talking to people where morality is relative. What you consider morality is your perception to
But morality works.
Yes, but here
It
morality
works.
is relative.
It has curbed religion.
Which-
Why don't you cheat?
No, that is
Because the Bible says
no,
so, right?
Here on
Yes.
the island,
It
it's a
says so.
different. It's
Listen,
the culture has a
religion
different
has
aspect
been-
to
It
morality.
has been proven. It works. To control, it can be used.
Which
And there are
morality
societies
do?
that
It has
have
worked
proved,
before,
there are
it can work
societies
here.
that have proved
Yeah.
culture can change, cultural norms can
Culture,
be
yeah.
broken.
The most important thing here is, what do we do first? And the very first thing before you change culture, we need quick fixes. Research is a long fix, my friend.
You need research.
Yes.
Don't do quick
Um,
fixes and spend my money. My friend.
Anyway,
I'm
we reached that
spending
point
my
when we
taxpayer
do
money.
the sun is going down and we do need to wrap up the show. So
quickies.
I'm going to not quickies. Banji, your parting shot. We'll start with you today.
Today my parting shots will come from my social science background. That communities are very complex. They are very difficult to understand. And culture is shaped by a number of forces: geography, history, the peoples, the interaction, the government, and etc. But that there are certain aspects of people's lives that cannot be policed. You can't police them. And I think sex is one of those areas where even if you have a mighty government, however autocratic or a dictatorship, they can't control. Because these are things that happen in private spheres. Okay, it is the consequences that come in the public sphere. You know, these guys can just set off on their canoe and have sex in the other side, and then the consequences are the ones you will get here. So these things become very difficult to change. But there is good news as these islands open up to interact with with the greater Uganda, and then of course as the country develops and then more social services extend to these islands, things begin to change. Now, this becomes a lesson not only to the people on the island here, but also to the men and women out there who are adopting very funny cultures. You know, funny cultures are happening in this Uganda, that people switch wives, people exchange girlfriends, people go for group whatever.
It's called swinging.
orgies.
Swing clubs.
All these things are not
You seem to
any
know them.
different.
Yeah.
Guys have
They are
words.
not any different from what we have just discussed here. So, but normally we need to be optimistic that culture can change, and culture changes, and you can influence culture to get a positive outcome.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Albert, your parting shot.
Yes, I will say that, as he has said, culture is very such a jigsaw. But what I can say is, I'm employing the scientists out there, social scientists, even the artists. Let's have some research done. We need to have the public out there needs to have data. It needs to have information to work with, because I think our government and other volunteers who are trying to come in are actually working with very limited information and trying to achieve the greatest impact. That is one. Two, the ladies and gentlemen out there, especially those that would be watching the show and would be part of this discussion, please, we need to get that feedback. It will be almost impossible to deal with this situation if we do not have a big a rise in economic activities on this island. Not only on this island, but on many islands. We need to have this fish industry booming. We need to have other industries on the island booming. If not that, so that we can keep the women busy, the children busy, and the other gen. Because an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Okay. Faisal, your parting shot.
My parting shot is first of all, if I mean it's culture, like they said, and most of the time I've seen the studies I've seen where people go in a place, study the culture and change it. They start from the grassroots. They go, they attack these children. They're like, you know what? We need to change these people's mindsets when they're still young, from the get-go. Yeah, because I mean, a grown man like Albert, if he used to live here on Kalanga, like, you think you would convince him not to go to Banji's wife?
Banji's wives.
And so going on, we as much as we need to do research, we also need to educate the youth of Kalanga. Yeah, we need to show people on this island that it's not all about fishing, and the palm oil trees. Yeah, there's so many things you can do from here. So much potential. We've been on this island for a couple of days now, and I'm just wowed. Everywhere I go, I'm like, wow, how come this is not happening? Wow, how come this is not happening here?
Yeah.
Because back where I am, people would jump at most of the opportunities here. And why are people here not jumping on board? Because they are uneducated. They do not know. They don't have information. Yeah. So number one, educate these people from the grassroots. Put up schools. Put up a secondary school. Yeah. Next, I don't know, maybe in 10 years time we see, oh, Kalangala SS or something, one of the best schools in Uganda, you name it. Yeah. And the other thing is, we should not put ourselves in this kind of situation where you believe culture cannot change. The world is changing. Why can't culture change too?
Right, great stuff.
Thank you.
The one and only Jalu.
The only one.
AKA Stephanie.
AKA the man. God's gift to women.
Stephanie.
Now listen. Yeah. when you're used to a system and it's not working. For example, if you for the ones that love football, you're used to defending. That is your strategy, and you're not getting the results. You change it. You attack, or you develop a system where it can work. It can work out. I believe this culture has been in existence for a very long time, and I know for a fact that when it comes to sensitizing communities, most of the time the policies are geared or are revolve around sensitizing men. Sensitizing men because they're in control. Why can't you flip it? Why can't we sensitize the women? Why can't you sensitize the women? Why can't you provide job opportunities for women? Why can't you put the control of sex in the hands of a woman? And I'm really insisting on that.
I know it's weird.
What I'm saying, basically what I'm saying is change the way you're doing things. Change the way you're doing things. If you've been doing things in a certain way and it's not working out,
Flip the script. All right, Grace. You flipped it. Well done. We are here at Pearl Gardens in Kalangala, and we've been talking about traditions, especially those that concern sharing wives. The good news is we are not yet done. Stay with us because we have a few words from a couple of locals from the island. But from us here on the set, it is good night, God bless, and we will see you next week.
Men share ladies with others. One of the reasons that I can give you is that women are very few.
Okay.
At the island, women are very few. I think you have also witnessed it when you came. The number of people you are seeing, most of them are men. So it's the reason why men are sharing one lady. You find that many men are sharing one lady because women are very few.
Ekireetera abantu abo okusharinga abasajja muva eri ne mujja eno Kalangala ne musanga abakazi b'e Kalangala
ne tubalumba.
Aha, ne mwenga mmwe mubalumba ne mukireetera mwenga mmwe ne mubasharinga.
Will, how are you? You are a man from Kalangala.
Yes.
Now, people say that in Kalangala, men share wives.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yeah, it's true.
Why?
Because of the situation you have in Kalangala so far, you have few ladies in this island. So far, they end up when they have shared the wives, because someone when someone goes for fishing, automatically the guys will come and share. You know that situation.
But why don't the women just say no?
Because you know, women they want money.
So it's about money.
It's about money.
So you have heard it's about money. If there's money, they will be okay.
Yeah,
Super. So men also have to work hard and make sure they have enough money.
for sure. Work hard.
Super. Are there faithful women? Are there some who it doesn't matter if you come with money, they say no?
Yeah, but I don't think so.
They all want money.
Yeah. Because even you, we are still younger.
Yeah.
We have our girlfriends from Kampala, from the mainland, not from this island.
Yes.
Because when you go to the hospital, you find the ladies who are HIV positive, men there.
Okay.
And for us, even for us, we're here to get the ladies from this island. You know, automatically get ladies from mainland.
Okay.
Here.
Yes.
No, I can't share.
You cannot share.
Yeah.
So yours is from Kampala.
Kampala.
Okay. So you've heard it. The safe girls, according to Will, are in Kampala.